Before the Pilgrims ever arrived, the land we now call the United States was home to many Native American tribes. The Wampanoag people lived in the region where Massachusetts is today. They were skilled hunters, fishermen, and farmers. The Wampanoag chief was called Massasoit, who took care of his people and made sure they had everything they needed to survive the changing seasons. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, an explorer from Italy, sailed across the ocean to find new land for Spain. He came with 3 ships called the Nina, the Santa Maria, and the Pinta. Although he didn't reach the place we now call America, his voyages started a wave of European explorers coming to the New World. The New World was the name Europeans gave to the Americas because it was a place they had never seen before. It was full of new lands, plants, animals, and people. Europeans were excited because they could explore, trade, and settle in this unfamiliar land. It was a difficult place to live, and the settlers struggled to survive. But they didn't give up, and soon more English ships started arriving. Among these ships was the Mayflower, which brought the Pilgrims in 1620. The Mayflower was not a large or comfortable ship. It was crowded, and the passengers shared the space with supplies and animals. For 66 days, the Pilgrims endured rough seas and harsh weather. Strong winds tossed the ship, making it hard to walk or sleep. Food became stale and fresh water ran low. Many fell sick, but they kept going, determined to reach their new home. On board the ship was William Bradford, a humble and determined man who would later become one of the most important leaders of the Plymouth colony. Another one of the most important people in this story is Squanto. Squanto, whose real name was Tisquantum, was a Native American from the Patuxet tribe, part of the Wampanoag. He had been taken to Europe years earlier and sold into slavery. After escaping, he returned to his homeland only to find that many of his people had died from disease brought by the Europeans. When the Pilgrims arrived, Squanto, who could speak English, decided to help them. He showed them how to plant corn, fish, and use other resources to stay alive. Squanto acted as a translator and a bridge between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people, helping to create peace during their early years in America. One day, Chief Massasoit, the leader of the Wampanoag tribe, visited the Pilgrims with an important message. He brought with him 2 arrows, one with a sharp arrowhead and one without. The arrow with the fa head symbolized war, and the one without symbolized peace. Chief Massasoit wanted to show the Pilgrims that his people preferred peace but were prepared for any war if necessary. The Pilgrims promised to protect the Wampanoag from other tribes, and the Wampanoag promised to assist the Pilgrims. They created a treaty, or an agreement called Pilgrim-Wampanoag Peace Treaty. For over 50 years the treaty held, largely due to the leadership of Chief Massasoit and key Pilgrims like William Bradford. But as more and more settlers came, things began to change. The settlers took over more land, and tensions grew. The treaty the Wampanoag made with the Pilgrims was broken, and the peaceful cooperation didn't last forever. Later in the fall of 1621, after a successful harvest, the Pilgrims invited the Wampanoag to join them for a feast. This gathering lasted for 3 days, and it was not exactly like the Thanksgiving dinner we know today. They didn't always have turkey like we do now. Instead, they ate venison, shellfish, wildfowl, corn, and berries, which were foods from both the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag. This story shows that history is complicated, and while we celebrate the good moments, we also need to remember the struggles and challenges that followed. The Native American tribes lost their land and their way of life. While the 1621 dinner is remembered as a moment of friendship, it's important to know that the relationship between the Pilgrims and Native Americans changed over time. And that is how the 1621 dinner came to be.